The Tapehead Massacre podcast.
And welcome back to another episode of the Tapehead Massacre podcast. I'm Caleb.
I'm Ed.
And today we're talking the new season of Monster.
Yeah, dude.
Diving
Ed fucking Gein.
into Ed Gein. Yeah, well, you finished this already.
No, I'm one episode ahead of where we're at.
Okay,
'Cause
all right.
We have only watched the first two episodes, and
Yep.
we're going to be talking about those right now.
Yep. For anyone that knows my take on serial killers and glorifying them, I'm not the biggest fan. Yeah, I don't really like giving like a
Aura.
celebrity persona
Yes.
to serial killers. There's just it's so like interesting. Good save.
Saved it.
Yeah, it's very interesting and like strange for people to idolize serial killers.
Yeah.
Especially like people that would be targets
Yeah.
for said serial killers.
Dead killers. Yeah. It's fucking weird. It gets to the point of, with some people, it gets to the point of like idolization to where it's almost like sexualized in a weird way.
Right.
And it's just really weird because it's like you would be his target audience to get got.
Right. And I don't know. I just think that, these are terrible people. If we were to live in a world of 2025,
Yes.
current day serial killers, right?
Yeah.
These are people that are going to get publicly outed and
Oh, yeah.
canceled and, whatever. And, there's just something strange to like go back in time and look at these, Dahmers, Gacy's, Mansons, Ed Geins,
Yeah.
and give, a bright light.
The real world icons of serial killers.
Right,
rather
right.
than the fictional ones.
Right. And it's like, oh my God, he's so amazing.
He's so quirky. It's like, bitch, he'll kill you.
Yeah,
Like,
and
what?
it's just so strange. Like, and so I have such like an odd dynamic with giving this like celebrity
Yeah.
image to serial killers because it's like, whether some did it for fame or for whatever fucked up reason they did the
Mhm.
things they did, right? I mean, obviously it's more than just fame being involved, especially with some of these guys, but this one specifically, a lot of things have stemmed off from, Ed Gein
Yeah.
and, Hitchcock's obsession.
Hitchcock's obsession, fucking literally being the reference point of Psycho, Buffalo Bill, Leatherface. Like,
Right.
they all stem from him.
Right. And, from before this had come out, being a huge Texas Chainsaw fan, realizing that it was, loosely based off of Ed Gein and then doing like, small researching on
Mhm.
him and the things he's done, it seemed like he was just a really misfortunate person
Yeah.
that had a very tough upbringing.
Oh, dude.
And got himself into a situation that his mind just became warped with a lot of,
Yeah. And not only that, like all of that, and on top of him being essentially like a simpleton,
right,
just like a simple guy.
right,
And then all these things, like especially like you said, like the upbringing with his mother, like really fucked up his view of the world.
and this is the thing. It's like, who is to actually say, fuck
Yeah.
what the internet has to say. Who
Yeah.
actually is to say if the things that are portrayed in this TV show are the actual way that they went down?
Yeah.
Because from what I had read in the past is that, he only killed 2 people.
Mhm.
The brother was news to me. I don't know
So,
if that was fictionalized
The
for the show.
brother, he never admitted to killing his brother, but with everything, like every like piece of actual evidence there was, it kind of points to him being the killer. But at
Okay.
the same time, like you said, like he'd never admitted to it.
Right.
He was never found to it because of like lack of evidence or whatever. But just how the story goes, it's like you can only presume he was the one to do it.
Right. Right.
But again, shit we don't know.
Right, exactly. And it just seemed like he had a rough go at it. And yeah, obviously like grave robbing and necrophilia is not normal behavior. But I mean, if you're
preserving vulvas in your fucking icebox, like
yeah, I mean, if I think a lot of the thing, I mean, I'm not a doctor. I have no medical background in anything, but it just kind of seems, with like the repetition of how these individuals act and, the things that they've done, it seems like it's a product of environment.
I feel like that's the case with most of this stuff is product of environment or product of the world around you. Because, I mean, you look at the Ed Geins and like the Dahmers and shit's like product of your environment. Like either you get too much of like parental involvement or not enough to where like they don't notice shit that's going on. And then you got the people like the Mansons where it's just like the world around him like neglected him and he's like, all right, cool, fuck you. Like I'm going to do this as a big fuck you to society.
Right.
So it's just like you get a far reaching spectrum of like real life serial killers who are just all over the place. And it seems like Ed Gein kind of falls like in not necessarily the middle, but just from everything, I've read like with actual like written accounts of him and like documents of like psychologists and shit from when he got brought in, like it seems that it leans into him being, just a product of a fucking overbearing zealot religious mother. You know what I mean?
Right. And mental illness, obviously you can be born with a mental illness.
Yeah.
And then you can develop mental illnesses, from traumatic experiences, things like that. So when you kind of grope those into each other, it could really become a big cocktail of disaster.
A bad blend.
Yeah.
Bad blend of life.
So, and, that's kind of what it seems like it was for this guy.
Yeah.
Obviously, this has just come out, I think.
It came out, what's today? The 6th?
Few days
came
ago.
Out 3 days ago.
Yeah, 3 days ago. So it'll be the 7th when this comes out.
Yes.
But, it's a very, like, touchy subject.
It's a very touchy subject. And also, just from this being, the third season of the show, it's a very different feel than all the other seasons, especially the feel of the first season with Dahmer, where it was just very gritty and gross and just like over the top. And then you got the one with the Menendez brothers that I didn't watch.
I didn't watch that either.
I've heard it's really fucking good.
Yeah.
Just never watched it. And then you got this season where it's kind of like almost like fairy tale-esque when it shows you his point of view of the world.
Yeah, I mean it's
like very like fantastic feeling.
We're further back in time.
Yeah. Because this is the 40s when World War II's still going on.
Yeah.
Because I think it's like 1940 or like, yeah, because like they're just finding out about the concentration camps and shit. And you see him at one point in the diner, like looking at it, like showing like 500,000 found dead in a concentration camp. And he's just kind of like staring at all these bodies piled up. And it goes from like his point of view and you see it, he's just like focusing on it. And it's just him being like a simpleton and not knowing.
TV's just doing its own thing.
Him being a simpleton and not understanding the gravity of what's happening.
Sure.
And it seems to be a theme throughout what we've seen in the show. Well, what you've seen and what I've seen, it's a running theme of like he just doesn't understand the gravity of his actions or the gravity of like the shit he's doing.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's been good so far. The first 2 episodes, I will say.
First 2 episodes are good. The third one's pretty good too. I didn't finish it yet. I was watching it with Kayla before I came back yesterday.
Okay.
But it's been good so far.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it. It is definitely a different feel than Dahmer.
Absolutely.
And again, with watching that, I don't know, like the things that came out of Dahmer and like there's just like all the memes.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't fuck with that. I really don't. It like makes me mad because it's like the one where it's like he's on like he's got the little boy or the fucking kid or whoever the fuck and it's like on the bed and he's like putting on something on the TV.
Yeah.
And it's like turned into this meme where it's like, oh, we're going to watch that, and it's insert meme here.
Yeah.
Like that's so fucked up because it's like I don't know.
making light of a very fucked up situation.
Look, I'm all about making jokes about things and whatever, but it's kind of like
There's a point.
It's the show was created to shine light on a very dark individual, that being Jeffrey Dahmer, and
I mean, the show's called Monsters,
right, and it's the whole thing. And if even if these situations are slightly exaggerated, or if they're to the T, or if they're completely exaggerated, just to kind of put yourself in like a situation where it's like you put this up against a fictional character.
Yeah.
Make all the memes you want, because it never happened. It was make believe. It was made up, but somebody was actually involved in this situation, and like to me, it's just like super fucked up, because you're
Bad
just
taste.
It's just not good taste. Like, people make jokes about all kinds of fucking natural disasters and tragic events that happen over the world because you're trying to make light of a bad situation. But those are like global events, right? That people make jokes about and whatever. But like when it's something like this, like intimate and personal, where it's like
and impactful.
Yeah, and it's not funny. And anytime I
No.
see like memes of like serial killers and like it, because of these shows like Monster or whatever, there's been more to come out from it all.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just, I don't know, it's not for me.
No, yeah, I feel you. And especially like in the case of, like you said, like making the memes out of the Dahmer show, it's just like, sure, like you can make a meme about that specific scene, but like take the context of that scene into what you're doing, because he's literally sitting down like a fucking 15-year-old kid, being like, we're gonna watch this, and then I'm gonna kill you, and then I'm gonna eat you, and then I'm gonna fuck your dead body. Like,
Yep,
shit's fucked.
it's bad.
And especially with the gravity compared to, excuse me, you compare Dahmer to Gein. Dahmer's got a way higher body count than Gein does, and they're all young boys. Like,
Right.
they're all young people. Like, it's fucked up what happened to them, and it's like, just like, even like taking the meme thing out of it, just like how it impacted so many families and so many people.
Yep.
Like, what the fuck, dude? Like, just read. Like, I'm all about reading like true crime and shit, but like we were saying, to a point, it's like there's a point of like reading it for interest of what's happening, and then reading it for the idolization, and the line between the two can be very gray, but it's also just like where your headspace is at, or where a person's headspace is at, where they can be reading it, because they can be reading it like idolizing it and then become a terrible fucking person, and then shit happens.
Right.
Or you can just read it just to have knowledge of, like, what the fuck was going on with this individual.
Well, that's it. Is this, we watch these fictional horror movies for enjoyment and entertainment, and then it's like you watch these TV shows about real people, docuseries, about like real people and real things that happen, and it's like, I don't know if I'm sitting down. I don't think I'm sitting down and watching these for entertainment. I mean, I'm not trying to like put myself on a pedestal or anything here, and say that I'm like this, like whatever. But like, I don't know. It's like, it's an interesting case and situation of what this person went through, but there is like a point of it of making it Hollywood.
Yes.
And I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, because it's like you have these people like Bundy that was like all about the publicity.
Yeah.
And he was eating that shit up. And it's like,
yeah, dude,
doing these things years later is just carrying on his name,
the fucking mythology of him.
right? And it's like, that's how much how
much more,
how much longer? Yeah, I was trying to make sure if that made sense in my head. But how much longer will these like names run on? Because it's I don't say it's impossible to have these individuals modern day.
Yeah.
But because of the technology of being able to, find, fingerprints and being able to take DNA samples and things like that, it becomes increasingly harder for an individual that's like that to be successful, quote unquote.
The last thing I saw, I think it was like this year or last year, like there was an active serial killer. I think it was in like Minnesota or somewhere in the Midwest, and he had like, they tallied the body count to like 15, and I'm like, how the fuck did he get to that number with technology and everything? But again, like the shit that was happening back then with all these killers, not to say it can't happen now, but it's few and far between.
It's like the thing, unfortunately, that we have that's common now is just school shootings.
Yep.
You know, that's just what the commonality is now.
It just all stems to that, and it's, I don't know. It's like shows like this, like I'll watch, but I'm not watching it in the aspect of like, oh, like I want to like know all about Ed Gein and know what he was doing. It's just like, no, like why was this person the way he was?
Yeah, and that's why I kind of hope that the people that have the directive of these shows are not making Hollywood out of it, and they're making just a visual representation of the things that happened.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because it's like, if you want to make art and you want to be creative, make a fictional horror character and go that way.
Yeah.
Right. But it's like to take an event that really happened and then to exaggerate upon it and make the person, you know,
make
more,
light of it, essentially.
Right, make light of it and make the person more sick and twisted by adding these extra things that never even happened in, just for the sake of like, ooh, it'll add, you know, fucking whatever to the show. It's gonna make it more creepy. It's gonna make him fucking evil. You know what I mean? It's like, I hope that's not what's going on.
I'm in the same boat as you on that.
That's why I get kind of hesitant to watch some of these shows, because it's, you know, I watched the Dahmer one with on a camping trip. We like binged the whole thing like a couple years ago when it came out, and I like the whole time I'm watching it, like I didn't feel good watching it.
No.
It's not like this thing that's entertaining or bringing anything to you. It's just like this like depressive thing.
It's fucking depressing as shit.
You know, and then I'm like, I don't even know how like somebody could like willingly
get pure enjoyment out of it.
And also the people that are involved, like say for instance, what's his name? Who the fuck played Dahmer? Evan Peterson.
Yeah, Evan Peters.
Evan Peters. Is that it's kind of like, dude, how fucking hard is that to put yourself in like that kind of.
I mean, what you call it? I saw an interview with Charlie Hunnam, who plays Ed Gein, and he was like putting himself in the shoes of Ed Gein, like kind of like fucked him up. And even after the show had finished wrapping, he had to go to Ed Gein's gravesite to like say goodbye, to get himself out of that weird mindset of like just like being that character. You know what I mean?
I mean, yeah, I wouldn't be able to do that.
No. I'm
all day. You want to put me in a fictional character role and call me fucking Sloppy Stitch Nuts? I'm down, dude. Like, and I'll go crazy ape mode. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like, you got to tell me I'm gonna fucking play this like sadistic person that like, you know. And it's also a weird thing too, because then you go back in time, right? Let's go all the way back to like Jack the Ripper.
Oh, dude, yeah.
Right? And it's like,
and so they finally just found out who he was like 200 years later.
Is that a thing?
They found out who it was because of DNA that was on some girl's cloth or something like that. But yeah, like last year it finally came out of like who it was, and it was like a banker dude who was going around and doing all this shit. Hold on,
You see it, dude? I didn't even know that.
I'll pull it up right here.
But that's the thing. That was so long ago, and this is the weird like timeline of things, right? Where if like you watch something on your phone, right, or like on TV, it's like it's not real, right? Even if it is real, like you're watching the news and you're just watching something happen, and it's like it's a warped. It's not warped, but it's you're not seeing it in real life.
Yeah.
So it's like this like barrier, this like invisible barrier that gets put up between you and your phone or the TV that like doesn't allow you to perceive it as real. Where like you have this Jack the Ripper character, it was so long ago, right, that it's like even hard to like fathom that that's like a real person.
Yeah.
Which obviously it you know it was a real thing, but that might be because of how long ago it was. That might be easier.
It's a cold case.
I don't even know about it being a cold case, but it's just like that distance that we have in the timeline between now and then, that it makes it almost like
because it was
more acceptable to make Hollywood out of that.
Yeah, because that like it was 137 years nobody knew who he was until when was this, last year? I have it right here. Yeah, so Jack the Ripper obviously had murders going on in the Whitechapel district of London during the autumn of 1888. And 137 years later, in a major breakthrough, DNA samples extracted from a shawl recovered from one of the crime scenes led to the identification of the killer. Forensic scientist Russell Edwards found a 100% match with the suspect, finally solving the case. In 2014, Edwards claimed the murderer was Aaron Kosminski, an immigrant from Poland who used to work as a barber. The shawl was recovered from the murder scene of Ripper's fifth victim, Catherine Eddowes, on September 30th, 1888. AFP reported that Edwards' request, Dr. Yari Lohalainen, I'm butchering that name, a
Sure.
senior lecturer at Liverpool, John Moores University, isolated seven small segments of DNA from bloodstains on the shawl. The DNA samples were matched with the DNA of Karen Miller, a direct descendant of Eddowes, confirming her blood was on the shawl. And then, yeah, they took all that and found out it was Aaron Kosminski, a barber.
Barber.
100% match.
Interesting.
137 years.
Yeah, that's crazy as fuck. And why was that not blown the fuck up?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, it was for a minute, but I guess there was other shit going on.
Yeah, that's wild business.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, all that being said,
So all that being said, what was from the 2 episodes we watched, what has been your take on the show?
I mean, I think it's done really well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's definitely written very well. And
Yes.
hopefully, like I said, I'm just grasping onto the, you know, hope that it's not being made for Hollywood.
Yeah.
And it's like they're sticking to what they know to be fact,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and whoever and however.
And even the stuff that's like fantastical and exaggerated in the show so far is being shown out of the perspective of Ed Gein, who was psychologically fucked. Like, the dude was just absolutely batshit
Well,
crazy.
yeah, so far we have this parallel timeline
Yes.
of this, like,
Of him with Ilse Koch, the bitch of Buchenwald.
yeah.
And Buchenwald was a concentration camp in Germany, and she was the wife of the dude who was running it.
Okay, so then there, you know, like, and that's something where, like, I can understand them, like, exaggerating maybe some scenarios in that light to make her look more sadistic and evil. But he's reading this magazine that
Yeah.
he gets.
It's like a comic book.
It's a comic book
Yeah.
that they were publishing, and
Yeah.
it's a real thing, right?
Mhm.
This comic book was a real thing.
So the comic book was a real thing. They don't know how much of what she actually did was real, but they do know that almost a lot of it was like fact.
Well, see, here we go. Look at this. Like, this is all shit that came out during these events.
Yeah.
Like, this comic book was written as, like,
Yeah, because they brought up during the scene of Hitchcock and the writer of Psycho, when they were talking that Ed Gein as a teenager was reading all these comics and true crime magazines that were like essentially like the blood and sex exploitation of the time. Like what we would get out of like 80s slashers now is what these comic books were back then.
right. And that back then was extremely taboo.
Yeah.
There wasn't anything that existed like that. And now you have, like, you know, because of World War II,
Mm-hmm.
you have, like, all this Nazi, you know,
The Nazi
publication.
Nazi exploitation. Yeah.
Yeah. And they're putting out comic books
Yeah.
that are, like, you know, idolizing these, like, you know, leaders, if
Yeah.
you will, in the, you know, the ranks of, you know, troops.
Mhm.
And it's the bitch of
Bitch of Buchenwald.
Buchenwald, yeah, sure. And, you know, it's basically just a comic strip that shows this woman fucking
Killing people, making skin lamps and shit, flaying people.
Yep. And if that's news to me that this
Mhm.
was something that, like,
Was going on.
I'm sure that was shit that was going on, because obviously
Yeah.
those times were fucking insane.
Yeah.
But that these are the ideas that Ed Gein
Saw.
These are
Mhm.
the things that he saw that led to the ideas of him recreating it in his home.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's the kind of thing where it's like product of environment. You grow up, you already have some type of mental illness, and now you mix this concoction of, like, war and sex and, you know,
Blood and gore.
and all this kind of stuff,
Mhm.
and, you know, things that us now modern day, you know, like, this is pretend.
Mhm.
This isn't you know, a real scenario.
Yeah.
Obviously in these comic strips they probably were real
Yeah.
scenarios, but it's like, you can, you know, you can take yourself and go, this is not
You
right.
can separate yourself from it.
Correct.
Yeah.
And it's not like, oh, well, this is what I want to do now.
Yeah, no.
You know, you're not going to, like, glorify, because I mean, you know, they even, like, when I was younger, I remember, like, Grand Theft Auto getting
Yeah.
a lot of flack
Yeah.
for people.
It's like, oh, kids play these games and they're going to go out and start carjacking people and just shooting up in the streets. And it's like, whoever the one dude was like going to, like, the Supreme Court about all these fucking rated M games and shit, and being like, no, like, this is bad. Like, video games shouldn't exist. And they were just like, well, I mean, most people can separate themselves from it. So
That's it.
like,
It's you have the general population that can go, this is wrong.
Mhm.
This is entertainment purposes only. This
Mhm.
isn't something that I'm gonna glorify
Yeah.
and then try and reenact.
Mhm.
Right. And then you have people that are already disturbed
Yeah.
that can watch these things and it excites them and it gets
Yeah.
them, fucking ramped up
Mhm.
and they want to go out and recreate it. That's the difference. It's like,
Mhm.
I don't think it is a publication issue. I don't think it's a like sure like there are films out there that
Yeah.
the average person is probably not going to enjoy watching
Mhm.
because of how far the envelope gets taken.
Yeah.
Right. But that's the thing. It's like there's a market for the people that interests,
Mhm.
right? And then there's a market for people that, want just surface level.
Mhm.
And then there's also people that shouldn't be watching any of that because they're already disturbed
Yeah.
and they have psychological issues. And then they watch these, these things that just fuels the fire,
Mhm.
And
And that seems to be the case of Ed Gein. Was like he was seeing all this shit and was being gifted shit by Adeline, who was the girl he was seeing,
yeah.
and being gifted of photos of like the dead concentration camp prisoners and like pictures of like people hanging there and getting
Which I'll say, she makes a statement at like the milkshake shop or the ice cream shop,
Yeah.
or the fuck whatever the places that they sit down and eat at.
Yeah.
She's like, you're the only other one in this town that I can show this to because we're both weird.
Yeah.
And then when he brings her to the house,
Mhm.
in the second episode,
Mhm.
and he's got the fucking
He's at the skull bowl.
he's got the skull bowl and the chair nipple and
Mhm.
all this kind of stuff. She like doesn't like I was okay. Yeah, the house is a fucking mess.
Yeah.
So like that's the first thing where you're like, ooh, Jesus.
Yeah.
But I'm surprised
But that's-
of her reaction to these things
Mhm.
that she's like, oh my god.
Yeah, but that's also showing like the fine line between being
Bingo.
interested in this shit
Right.
and being like, no, this is actually wrong, but like in a psychological aspect, it's
I'll watch this
interesting.
from afar.
Yeah, like I'll look at this from afar and like be like, oh, this is fucking crazy. And then you have Ed Gein who's like, this is fucking insane. I want to do the same exact thing. And it's just fucking, it's a hodgepodge of shit that shows the fine line of like people who can enjoy this type of content and not want to recreate it. And then show the people like Ed Gein where it's like, no, like I'm going to look at this and be like fucking just absolutely invested in it and make this my life's work.
Yeah. I mean, when you don't have anything else going on in your life that is exciting or does something for you,
Yeah.
this is all you have.
Yeah. And I mean,
Um,
especially in his position, like growing up with an overly religious mother, like says, like episode 1 opens up with it's like a bleak winter morning in rural Wisconsin. This is when we meet Ed Gein, who's like quiet, socially awkward, kind of simpleton, and his life revolves around his mom Augusta, and this is where the Norman Bates Psycho comparison comes in because it was kind of the same thing with him, and they took inspiration from that. And his mom is like has a strictly religious worldview, like Old Testament, like you're gonna burn if you fucking stray from my word type view of the world. And Ed kind of buys into it just because like he's been forced to, and obviously like he's got some shit going on, like he's like a simpleton, like I said. And then you got his brother who was grown up in the same thing, but then in this episode when he meets up with Ed, he's like, I'm getting out of here, like I can't do this, like she's a bad person and like she's just gonna warp you. And this is when it comes like the product of the environment thing,
right.
you know what I mean? And then later that day in the first episode, Ed sneaks into a nearby house to spy on 2 girls, Adeline and Madison, Adeline being the one that he has an interest in, as they try on, the bullet bras and shit. And he's like just watching through the door, and he's like looking through the door, and like the wood creaks, and they're both like, oh, what the fuck? Like, I thought your mom was playing bridge. And Adeline goes, she is. And then they come out and they see the door wide open, and
Yep.
it's from Ed sneaking in and then just like bolting out when he knows he's getting caught. And then from there, he goes home and performs like this ritualistic act of like putting on a bra, putting on like just like female clothes, and then fucking taking a belt, wrapping it around his neck, and fucking suffocating himself while he's jerking off.
I wonder where that comes from.
I think that's fact.
No. I'm saying like even if that was
Yeah,
fact,
I think
but like where does one figure out that that's what they enjoy?
I think it's because it's a fucking it's like a sexual self-punishment.
Yeah, but again, for someone like him that doesn't
Yeah.
have a lot of like exposure to the world,
Mm-hmm.
how would one really know to try that?
I don't know, primal urges. I don't fucking know.
I don't know. It's just strange.
I chalk it up to human nature of him being told like, no, women are bad, sex is bad, you should never do.
Sure, but he could just like jerk off like normal.
Yeah, but then again, like he's also told that women are bad, and he has this fixation on like the female body, like the female gaze, and as you know, we find out later on, he likes to like dress in the skin of like the women he's killed or the women that he's dug up from for whatever fucking reason.
Sure.
But you know, it's again shit that we don't fully know. And then his mom like bursts in the door and catches him, and she like reprimands him and reminds him that any woman outside her moral code is a Jezebel. And she like brings him downstairs, and he's standing there butt naked, just covering his shit up. And she's talking about like burning in hell and blah blah blah. And then he's like, oh, I'm sorry, mother. Just like he's like, I was just messing around. Like I thought it'd be funny. And then she's like, all right, get dressed. And then she hits him with the line of only a mother could love you.
That's kind of a reoccurring theme.
It's a reoccurring theme this entire series so far is that he's only a mother could love him.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, fair. But
clearly not, because Adeline's shown interest.
Yeah. And, you know, that day at the local diner, we learned that Ed and Adeline actually know each other. And Adeline's fascinated by dark history and photography, shares disturbing photos of Nazi concentration camps with Ed. And this is where you see, like, his, like, lips kind of, like, tremble, like, looking all this shit and kind of, like, salivating over it in a sense. He's just, like, looking at this, like, he's like, what is this? And he can't understand it. And then the writer of Psycho, when you see him, I think it's in the second episode, he kind of chalks it up to, like, he couldn't understand it, so he had to replicate it. Right. And it's just, like, kind of a fucked up thing. And then she also shows him a sensational magazine about the war criminal Ilsa Koch, infamous for crafting human skin keepsakes at, you know, the Buchenwald concentration camp. And that's also an alternate timeline we get of her, like, during all these parties with her family, like, you know, having all the, you know, the concentration camp all the concentration camp Jews in the house. Like, she brings a horse in the house and, like, charges the horse after one of them. And it's just, like, it's absolutely fucking crazy shit.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, this is probably the shit that was going on at the concentration camps in Nazi Germany.
Yeah.
So it's like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Shit's fucked.
Yeah. He's vague. He's unsettled by what he's looking at because, like, he can't comprehend it, but he's also drawn to it.
Right.
And he's just like trying to make sense of it. And this essentially, like, plants seeds for him of, like, what he's going to do, because we see later that night he breaks out the box again that he gave her, and he's reading the comic of the bitch in Buchenwald and, like, looking at, like, her making the skin lamps and everything and all this type of shit, and it's just fucking wild.
And that's when he goes and digs up his first body.
Mm-hmm. So not yet. So turning point comes when he's in the farm chopping wood, and his brother Henry shows up.
Oh, right.
And then Henry tells him, like, you know, mother's bad, you know, like, I have to get out of here. Like, she's fucking me up, and she's going to keep fucking you up because you're already in her noose, essentially. Like, she's already, like, hanging you with all these thoughts and feelings.
Yeah.
And then he goes to, like, walk out, and he says, like, I'm leaving you, Eddie. And he goes to walk out, and this is when Ed takes a log and just bangs him over the fucking head with it. Hard as fuck, by the way. Like, that was a thick thud. And he drops, and he's like, oh, gotcha. And then his brother's just not moving, and he's, like, getting worried. And then he sees the blood draining out, and this is when he, like, takes the wheelbarrow of wood out the door, and he's, like, kind of running away. And then he turns around and looks, and you see his brother get up and kind of like, oh, you got me good. You're right. Mother's a great lady. And this kind of is the first part that blends Ed's fantasy with reality, to where he doesn't know what's real and what's not.
Right.
But,
to which we then realize that he has schizophrenia.
Yeah. So he goes back the next day, and, you know, his brother's still there. And this is where he starts the brush fire that his brother was talking about doing. And he takes his body out into the brush fire. And then, you know, the paramedics come and get him and whatnot. And, they see he's dead, and they bring him into the morgue. And Ed's obviously standing right there across from him. And I think it's like the police chief who says he was stiff when we found him, and Ed chops it up to, like, oh, it's getting cold out. And then the doctor's like, yeah, there's a weird bruising, but, like, by my lights, he's like, I'm going to chalk it up to, like, asphyxiation from all the smoke, because brush fires kick up a lot of smoke. So that's kind of how he gets away with his first one.
Yeah.
And then he comes home from that and sees his mother like on the table, like crying. And he's like, I'm the man in the house now. Like, I'm going to take good care of you. And then he walks around and he sees she's having a stroke.
Yeah.
And it looks fucking crazy. Like,
Yeah.
it looks, her whole left side of her face is just drooping over. It looks kind of like in Coraline, like when she goes back in the other world and it starts to get bad, her father's face is kind of just like drooped all the way down to here.
Yeah.
It's fucking crazy. But she suffers a stroke, and then they go to the neighbors, the Smiths, to get the $10 that they owe her for planting on their land or whatever. And he's like arguing with his wife, and he's like about to drown a dog, saying like these things cost money, blah blah blah. And then she's like calling her a harlot, a harlot, a harlot, and then just fucking dies of a heart attack.
Yep.
Right there in front of him. And then this is kind of what sets him off, essentially, because he lost his motherly figure, who's his whole, by his own words, his entire life revolved around her.
Right.
And so, you know, they bury her. He goes back to the house and he goes to sit in her chair. And then this again is when the schizophrenia kicks in, because you hear her voice. She's go, get out of that chair. And he stands up like freaked the fuck out and sits back down. And then the episode ends with Ed being told by his mother, like, you can bring me back, you know. And this is when he goes to the graveyard to try to dig up his mom. And he can't because it's a stone coffin that he can't get in. And she's like, oh, just dig up that bitch next to me. So he digs up his first body, brings her back, undresses her, and kind of like looking at her in a weird way to where we can only assume this was his first case of necrophilia.
Yeah.
So that's the end of episode 1.
Yep. Pretty good opening.
Pretty good opening.
Yeah.
By the end of episode 1, like, I'm intrigued in the fact of like, okay, like, it's not overly glorifying Ed Gein. It's not.
It just seems like it's telling a story.
It's telling a story, exactly. Like, as exaggerated as whatnot, it's still just a story being told. And then,
God damn it!
Already, bro, you gotta drink your Red Bull.
I've been, dude. I'm
Just
fucking
slam it.
I can't slam it, dude. I'm gonna fucking start freaking out on the pod, dude. This fucking episode will be brought to you by fucking panic attacks.
So, episode 2, Sick as Your Secrets, starts with Ed on a little tractor going through the farmland, and then he sees somebody run by him. There's nobody there. He sees another person run by him. Nobody there. And then he turns around and he sees all of the concentration camp Jews just full-blown sprinting at him and like running with him. And then he gets in the house and, you know, he's like locking the door, and his mother's like, oh, what are you doing now? And he's like, they found me. He's like, they know what I'm doing. They're gonna do it to me. Then he gets up and grabs the gun. She's like, are you out of your fucking mind? And then it pauses and it's just silence.
Yep.
And it's another scene of his schizophrenia acting up.
Yeah, that was a pretty wild scene. I was like,
Yeah, because it blurs the line of fantasy and what's real hard.
yeah. And I'm like, are these zombies? What's going on?
Yeah, and then if you notice, I noticed it at least at the beginning of it when he's sitting down on the ground when he first gets in the house. Some of the concentration camp survivors, from what I could see, have his mother's face.
Okay.
That's what I saw. At least I could be wrong, but that's what I was seeing. And then from there, the story shifts to 1959 Hollywood with director Alfred Hitchcock. He's dining with his wife Alma Reville and novelist Robert Bloch. And Alfred Hitchcock is played by Tom Hollander, who was in Bird Box. If you remember that movie. Do you remember the guy they found where he like opens up the grandma's eyes when they're all in the house?
Yeah.
He's like, that's him.
Yeah, okay.
He plays that character. He's also in, what else is he in? He's in Mission Impossible. He's in Bohemian Rhapsody. He's in, what else is he in? Oh, he plays, you remember the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise?
Of course.
Remember Beckett?
Yeah.
That's him.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Nice.
he's been in some stuff. He's been in some good stuff.
That's good.
Yeah, so he's played
I like
by,
that.
He's played by him. Alma Reville's played by Olivia Williams. And then I don't know who Block's played by, but let me see if I can find it right quick right here.
Right quick.
Right quick. Where's he at? Oh, Ethan Sandler. What has he been in?
The old Ethan.
The old Ethan. He was in Meet the Robinsons and some voices. He's been in a lot of TV. He was in Will and Grace, Crossing Jordan, Psych, one of my favorite shows. He was in New Girl for an episode as a juror. He had a lot of like background stuff, but this is like his first like main thing he's done. So they're sitting there talking about it, and Hitchcock's essentially like, you know, like Frankenstein, Phantom of the Opera, like that stuff's not going to cut it anymore with all the atrocities that we're seeing coming out of, you know, Nazi Germany. And he says, like, we have banished God. And like
Yeah.
that's such a heavy hit in line, dude, because they're talking about like nobody's gonna want to see Psycho. Like this is too much. Like nobody's gonna want to see a serial killer movie. And that's where he brings up the point of like, monsters aren't gonna come anymore. We've realized as a society
We are the monster.
We are the monster. Exactly. Yeah. And from there, we go to them. It cuts to Block and Hitchcock in a dining cart talking about shit and talking about his fixation on corpses and the way cruelty can echo through art. And Block explains that Ed's fascination with death started young, and as he was fed by sensational pulp, including the magazine Bitch Buchenwald about Nazi criminal Ilse Koch. And the meeting sets up how Gein's real crimes would soon inspire one of cinema's most iconic villains, Norman Bates. And then from here, it goes back to 1950s Wisconsin with Ed and Adeline. Their relationship like deepens, but it's still strange because he say he's born in 1906. So by this point, he's like 30 something ish, like 30 ish. I don't know how old she is. Maybe like 20s and shit because she's out of school. But she dreams of leaving to New York to shoot crime scenes, and he's awkwardly like enthralled by her curiosity. And during the date at the roller skating rink, he admits he made a bowl out of a skull, and she kind of like chalked it up to like dark humor, like, oh, that's real funny. And he's like, no, I'm serious. He's like, let's go back to my house and like I'll show you. So then this is when they get back to the house, and obviously he lives on a farm like kind of far away from normal society, so he doesn't have electric. He's got like all like oil lamps and stuff, and she's kind of like, can we turn a light on? He's like, hold your horses, and she's kind of looking around like, what the fuck's going on? Like this is starting to get creepy. And then he like strikes the match and is right in front of her. He like covers his mouth and he's like, "Oh no, gotta be quiet. Mother's awake upstairs." And then she sees like how bad the kitchen is, and she's like, "Oh, like you need to fucking clean up around here." He's like,
Need a woman's touch.
Need a woman's touch, exactly. And she starts throwing some stuff away. She asks why he has a whole fucking like dog food tin full of chewing gum. And he's like, "Oh, in case there's still some flavor left in it." But yeah, like she's just getting weirded out, and then she looks in the sink and she's like, "What's that?" And he's like, "Oh, it's a hacksaw." He's like, "I decided to clean it up." And he's like you said, like I need a woman's touch. And I guess she kind of just talks it up to like a guy living on his own or whatever, not knowing what to do. But then this is where he like gets up in her face and is like asks her to go steady, and she's like, "Yeah, okay." And he's like, "All right, cool." Like,
let's go full throttle.
He's like, "Let's go full throttle." And then he kind of he's like, "All right, cool. Like, let me introduce you to mother." And he takes her upstairs, and this is where she sees the skin chair with the nipple on it. She's like, "What is that?" And he's like, "It's a nipple." She's like, "Yeah, but from what?" He's like, "All manner of beasts got nipples." And then she's like, "Oh, it's obviously from an udder, right?" And he's like, "Oh, something like that." And that kind of like sets her like radar
Her
off.
spidey senses are tingling.
Yeah, they're tingling, and she's like kind of not about it. And then they go into Augustus' room, and obviously it's just the corpse sitting in the chair looking like her, but she doesn't know that. And she said, like, hello. And Ed's like, oh, she's a bit deaf, so, a little hard of hearing, so you got to, like, yell a little louder. And then she's talking to the corpse, and she's like, just, like, nice to meet you. She's like, and Ed's like, oh, I want you two to be friends. And then, obviously she's like, why isn't she answering? He's like, oh, no, she's not asleep. She's just stubborn. And then this is where her shit kicks off. She's like, nah, like, I got to get the fuck out of here. So she gets out of there. And like Ed's like, can I have a kiss before you leave? She's like, no. He's like, can you at least sit on my lap for a minute? And I was like, whoa, big jump there, buddy.
Yeah.
And she's like, no. And he's like, can I see you next weekend? And like she kind of just like storms off. And this is where he starts freaking out in the fucking house, like, I love her, like fuck you, blah blah blah, all this type of shit. Talking to his dead mother, and she's like, no, she's a harlot. I won't ever speak to a harlot. Blah blah blah.
Right.
His schizophrenia is just going full throttle.
Full
throttle, untreated schizophrenia.
Adeline's outside and hears
Adeline's
all this
outside
too.
and hears like that he loves her, and she's kind of like, oh, like okay. And then she leaves, and then Ed's like, I'm going to the bar, and she's like, oh yeah, just like your shiftless drunkard father, blah blah blah. And he's like, whatever. So he leaves and goes to the bar, and this is where he meets Mary Hogan, who was his first victim. And he's in the bar, and he's like, yeah, I got girl trouble. And she's like, oh, like I still got connections from my time in Chicago. Like I could, call up a girl, and she'd be more than happy to spend a night with a handsome guy like yourself. And he kind of like dismisses it, and he's like, he's like, you're not a woman. He's like, my mother's more of a woman than you are. And then she's like, do you want to drink your beer here or go somewhere else? He's like, I got to use the washroom. So he goes to the bathroom, and then he comes back out to a full on in his brain Nazi party going on
at
in the bar.
Yeah.
And it's fucking like he in his mind like talks to Ilse Koch and her husband, and he's like, you gonna let her talk to you like that? And she's like, who the fuck are you? Like, arrest this man. Then he goes up to the bar. He's like, I didn't mean nothing by it. And he's like, I'm sorry. She's like, it's all right. And he's like, you're nothing like mother. My mother's a saint and you're a madam. And then he picks up his rifle that he brought in. And, when she asked what it was for, he's like, oh, just in case I saw a squirrel on the way up here. He's like, no such luck. And then he fucking puts one right through her head.
Yep.
Puts her down.
Put her down.
Puts her down. Goes behind the register. Goes behind the counter.
Robs her blind.
Robs her blind. Takes his $1 for his beer back.
Robs her dead.
And yeah. And then just drags her body out. And then, the police start like sniffing around the disappearance. They go in. They see that there's the bullet on the ground already, and the one bartender or the guy who works there, like, he's like, nah, she told me to go home. And he's like, as soon as I pulled off, I saw a truck that looked like Eddie Gein's, but like Eddie Gein wouldn't hurt a fly.
Right.
Again, another reference to Psycho.
Sure.
And then the episode closes by showing Anthony Perkins, who's during this time was closeted gay, and he's, it shows someone dressing up in like dressing up as a woman with like the bra, the robe, the hair, all this. He comes out, and like, I guess like the guy he's messing around with is like, what the fuck? And he's like, I'm just trying to get into character. And he's like, when Alfred Hitchcock tells you to do something, you do it. And the guy he's seeing is like, nah, like, I'm gonna go downstairs and just talk to a nice square. He's like, I'm just gonna talk to a normal guy. And Anthony Perkins is like, oh, well, like, you're just jealous because I got the role, and blah blah blah. And then we see the next day he goes to the is it the Warner Brothers backlot where all the warehouses? Yeah, it's the Warner Brothers backlot, and he's talking to Hitchcock. He's like, I'm so excited I couldn't sleep. Blah blah blah. He's like, I'm really excited to meet Janet Leigh, and then this is where Alfred Hitchcock's like, oh, I canceled the rehearsals with her today. I want you to do something else instead. Takes him onto one of the sets that was the house of Ed Gein, exactly as the police found it. And he's walking through, he sees like the shrunken heads on the dresser. He's seeing just like how much of a mess the place is. And he goes in the back and sees the skull that was made into a bowl. And Hitchcock is like, yep, like he ate every meal out of that bowl. And like, he's already starting to get unsettled. And he's like, and Hitchcock's like, now I want to show you something much worse. He's like, open the icebox. And Anthony Perkins is like, is that what I think it is? He goes, yep, 9 preserved vulvas just sitting there in the icebox. And it gives you a quick flash to it, like kind of like a little jump scare. And then he turns around and like Alfred Hitchcock's not there. And then he sees Ed Gein in the back working on the skin chair. And he like starts saying like, oh, you can't do that. You can't do that. But he's like, mother, like you told me you wanted me to fix this chair. And it flashes back to Perkins, like dressed up as the mother from Psycho. And he's like, you can't do that. Like people don't want to see this. And this is where Ed Gein, like in his little fantasy or whatever, looks up and is like, yeah, but you're the one who can't look away. And then it was a cool tracking shot showing, Perkins going into where Gein was, and then a cool reverse tracking shot back out of it to like real time where he's just still there standing at the icebox. And then Hitchcock's like, all these different people wanted this role, but he's like, Ed Gein had a secret and I wanted you because you have a secret too, don't you, Mr. Perkins? So, like pretty much saying like, I know like what you're hiding.
Yeah.
Because it's the same kind of like sexual deviancy that Gein was hiding in a different way. And he's like, that's why I picked you, because you have a secret too. You're the only one who could do this. And then you see Perkins leave and throw up. And then it shows the scene of the one detective in the House of Psycho, like falling down the stairs and all that shit. It shows him filming it. And then it cuts to Anthony Perkins going to see a psychiatrist, like, I, performed the act of sodomy and all this and that. She's like, well, there's a few things we could do. Like there's electroconvulsive therapy. And it kind of shows a clip of like what that would look like. And she's like, obviously the lobotomy's off the table. And it's fucking crazy to me that lobotomies were still a regular thing in the 60s.
Yeah, wild.
Fucking wild shit, dude. Like, we weren't a little bit more advanced than that.
Yeah.
But, yeah, the episode ends, or not ends, because there's still a little bit more. It cuts back to, let me pull up my notes here. It cuts to the theater that's showing Psycho for the first time. And the shower scene shows, instead of obviously Norman and Janet Leigh, it shows Ed Gein and Adelaide in, the shower scene. And it's much more grotesque than the actual movie, because the actual movie, like, it doesn't show too much. There's not a lot of blood, but it was cool. And I told you this last night when I was watching it. When I saw it for the first time, it's like they filmed it in such a grotesque and gory way because that's what audiences in the 60s were seeing for the first time, because they'd never seen anything like this before. They'd never seen someone getting stabbed in the shower, especially when Anthony Perkins is like, like killing the heroin off in the first 30 minutes. Like, crowds are never going to believe this shit. and then you see Alfred Hitchcock like staring into the theater door, seeing a woman go into labor, a girl fainting, a guy running out and throwing up, and he's kind of like enamored, like, oh fuck, like this is like nobody's ever had a reaction to this to a movie before. And then I believe that's where the episode ends.
I believe so.
Yeah. So yeah, 2 episodes with 2 different storylines going on, and it's crazy. And then I know later on in the series, because it was just like a question I had later on in the series, how it's showing Hitchcock and Anthony Perkins, it shows your boy Toby Hooper in this series too.
Okay.
So I'm excited to see that. And it named whoever was playing them, but I didn't see him in anything that I had seen.
Okay.
But
yeah, I'm looking forward to checking that out.
Yeah, 2 episodes in, it's pretty fucking good. Pretty fucking good
it's
show.
I'm liking it so far.
Yeah.
We can't give it a full rating yet, just because we haven't finished the show.
Yeah, but we'll do like 2 or 3 episodes on the pod of just like talking.
We'll do like 30 more.
Yeah,
we'll just 72 more.
Yeah,
We'll do the entire show's length more, not just the show. No, yeah, it's been really good so far. I mean, if you guys have Netflix, I'm sure most of you guys do. It's on Netflix.
Or just watching on your local totally legal streaming site.
Yeah, for sure. One thing that I do want to give a shout out is we have a listener that has been listening to the show for a super long time and always hits us up and has nice things to say.
Oh, yeah?
And he is from South Africa.
Shout out.
His name's Chris. So
Hi, Chris.
shout out, Chris.
Shout out, Chris.
Appreciate you listening to the show week in and week out. And we're happy to be back doing this full time again.
Yeah, man.
We're going full throttle.
Full throttle, minor tret, full throttle.
Full throttle, baby. So, yeah, shout out Chris from South Africa.
It's crazy to think we ever reached that far.
It's wild, man. It's the wonderful world of the horror community,
yeah, man.
It's backed, and we have, we love our listeners, and shout out Chris again for listening in all the way over in South Africa.
Always send your feedback in, or stop by the Instagram or the Spotify or Apple comments to say hello.
Yeah, Chris, if you're listening, hit us up on Instagram, because I don't know if you have before, but yeah, hit us up on Instagram, and it's Tapehead Massacre on Instagram.
Yeah.
And we'll send you some stickies and some other
Send you
goodies.
some cool stuff.
We'll send you the cool jazz.
The cool stuff.
The other thing too is that I was kind of hoping that the order would be here today, but mail hasn't come yet, and we're not pressed for time, but
No.
we like to make sure that the episode gets out on time on Tuesdays. That being said, the sponsorship with Kelly's Killer Popcorn is official, and you'll be able to go over on the website and use code TAPEHEAD for a nice little discount code.
Hell yeah, dude. I looked at their flavors, dude. They got some bangers.
Listen, so we got on the way. We got salted agave caramel.
I'm excited for that.
We got
one.
salt, pepper, garlic coming.
Oh, that sounds good as
right.
fuck.
2 packages of dill pickle, and then
You and your
2
dill
classic
pickle.
buttle.
Buttle.
2 classic butter coming.
Fuck yeah,
and
dude.
then she had said that she's throwing in some goodies, so we're excited to see what that entails.
I'm excited to see. But shout out Kelly's Killer Popcorn, dude. If you fucking like popcorn, stop on over.
We are huge popcorn heads here.
We'll sit down to watch a movie at the house. I'll make 3 bags of popcorn, and you will eat it all before we even hit play on the movie.
Yeah, it's a true fact. It's a true fact. So I'm excited to have some more decor on the table from
Hell
Kelly's
yeah.
Killer Popcorn.
I'm excited for that salt.
Yeah, make sure you go over to the same.
I'm excited.
It's funny because it's like traditionally it's like I'm like, all right, let me just get butter,
Yeah,
but
dude.
then like there is some times where I'm like, ooh, let me get a little flavor on there.
I used to like the little like the dusting, like the seasonings you can get for popcorn, like the little nacho cheese ones, like the white cheddar stuff.
Yeah.
I remember getting those all. I remember they sold them at movies for a little bit too.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, they had like the actual they had nacho cheese and like the white cheddar.
Ugh.
Yeah, but no, it was cool, and I love trying new popcorn. So I'm
so excited. So Kelly'sKillerPopcorn.com, I believe, is the site.
Yeah, check
but
it
I'm
out.
sure that if you just Google Kelly's Killer Popcorn, you'll
It'll
be able to
pop
get
up.
yourself a bag.
Use Tapehead.
10.
Get some fucking cool popcorn, dude.
Get some fucking popcorn, baby.
Get some popcorn.
Tell a friend. Tell all your friends that are into popcorn.
Yeah.
Get this motherfucking shit. That being said,
What else? Oh, we got a new Fangoria copy.
we got the new Fangoria just came in the mail. Shout out Fangoria. It's got a sweet cover there for anyone watching. Which, by the way, we have episodes on YouTube along with the audio that you're currently listening to. So you'll be able to go over and check out the video
Even
on
if you're watching
YouTube.
Spotify, we got the video up on there.
Videos on Spotify as well.
Yeah.
Review, rate, and star,
Comment.
and all the comment.
Talk your shit in the comments. Feel free.
Do the thing, yeah. Just rate and review, subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Follow the show.
Yeah.
Do all the things because the more reach the show gets, the better it'll be in terms of the things that we can get here.
Yeah, we can do a lot more fun stuff.
I'm excited because I've been talking to Ruben about our camera system here, and we have a decent little setup. It's something, but he's turning me on to the Insta360 that he just got, and he's basically telling me that, and he said I could borrow it, just to try it out to see if it would work for the show. But essentially, it would be able to go directly in between us and would pick both of us up, and it would be one video.
That's fucking cool.
So I'm excited. I'm gonna probably scoop that up in a couple of weeks, and then we'll have some better visual for the show.
That'll be fun as
fuck. This is fine. This works.
It's fine. It works. It does the thing.
But when we start having more guests on and we start traveling more, it'll be nice to have something a little bit on the higher quality for video, because everyone kind of gets their content from clips now.
Yeah.
So, and I'm gonna start making. I'll probably flip back over my TikTok to the
TikTok
to the podcast.
Yeah, there you go.
Just so that way it makes it a little easier to get some more reach.
Yeah.
But
anything else?
I mean,
check out the show. So far it's getting shit reviews, but I'm having a good time watching it.
Yeah, I think that it's good. I'm not complaining about anything just yet. So, did you break it?
No, hold on. I just pulled it out of my.
It's out of your head. Yeah. But we. I'm trying to think if we have anything coming up. I don't think there is anything coming up. We got a couple things that we have to do, but with just scheduling and stuff, we haven't been able to do. But Nightmare on New Hope, Monster Vegan. Trying to settle these things up at the end of the month.
I want to do that the candle walkthrough of Nightmare and New Hope that they're doing.
Oh yeah,
where you can walk through
fun.
with like the lanterns on. It's kind of like a haunted house feel. I want to do that.
Yeah, that does look rad. Laura and I are going up to the Mahoning for their Halloween night.
Yes, you are.
On the 31st this month. It's like six movies, all mystery.
You gotta let me know what movies they play.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm gonna try and stay up as late as I can because it's gonna start, when it gets dark out, and then they're showing 6 movies.
Shout out.
I can barely stay awake for one.
Yeah, you're gonna have a blast.
Yeah, dude, I'm gonna have to fucking bring a case of Red Bull, dude, and just fucking
slam half
force
of them.
myself to stay awake.
Fuck it.
And then we're staying up in the Poconos for the week.
I love the Poconos, dude.
So it's gonna be good stuff. Bringing the goobs.
Love the Poconos.
I
was just in the mountains.
We got a cabin in the woods. Yeah, you were just in the mountains.
I was just in the mountains of Latrobe, Pennsylvania.
Latrobe,
Pennsylvania.
Here's another thing. We get like the stats and different things on the old apps, but let us know where you're from, where you're listening in from.
Yeah, dude.
We've talked about this before, and like there's a good amount of you listening into the show every week, and we really appreciate you, and we know that a lot of our friends are probably not the ones that are listening.
No,
because it's not really their bread and butter. Either they're not into podcasts or they're not into horror, and maybe they'll check out an episode here and there as support or whatever. But I think y'all are just tuning in from maybe Instagram and whatever. But we appreciate you, and we kind of want to be able to know where you're from and stuff. Give us your social security and
give us your address so we can stalk you outside your window.
Yeah. But yeah, man, I think that's an epi.
I think that about does it.
I think that does it. We'll catch you guys next week for another one. Later, y'all.
Bye. beast back on the menu, boy.